What's up, everybody? This is Chris and welcome to another one of my videos. In this video, I know I am not in my room for once. I am outside my favorite theater, a few minutes away from going in to see the early screening for Bumblebee. There's the theater right there. Yeah, that theater is fucking dope. It's my favorite theater. Edwards, Ontario 22, if y'all want to know. But yeah, they're doing the early screening for Bumblebee. And the thing is, initially the showing that they had for this theater, it was sold out for 7 o'clock. But the thing is, because it's sold out, they did another showing for 7:01. And I initially didn't buy tickets for the first showing, but I'm all like, you know what? If I'm a real Transformers fan, I gotta go see this movie early. So I got tickets for the 7:01 showing, and yeah, here I am. I called out for work for this. And I think the reason I did is mainly because I didn't want to get spoiled for anything big that's going to happen. I mean, this movie, I'm really curious about the directions that it's going to go in, what's it going to do for like the franchise, story-wise, what's going on with it. And really, is it more of sort of a soft reboot, or are they more driven by the continuity of the previous films? So many questions, which is why I got to be here to see what's going on for myself. And yeah, the thing with this though, doing an early screening, it's a really interesting strategy. And the thing is, they would not do this early screening for like general audiences 2 weeks before the movie officially releases, unless they had some serious faith in this movie. You know what I mean? It's like if your movie stinks, you're not gonna let people see it 2 weeks beforehand, because that's just gonna generate a whole bunch of bad word of mouth. Now, at the time I'm recording this, it's 6 o'clock here in no 6:30 here in California, and I have not seen the reviews yet. I want to go in fresh and sort of make up my mind and see how it is after I see the movie. So yeah, I'm only going in totally fresh to see what's up, and I am really excited right now because I want to see what's this movie going to do. Paramount must have some faith in this movie if they're going to be doing some screenings 2 weeks ahead of time. And another main reason for that is because there's a whole lot of competition this December. It's going to be a great month for movies. But yeah, I'm going to sign off for now, and I'll give you all my reaction when I get back from seeing the movie.
3 hours later.
So here I am ready to give my official reaction and review for the movie. I didn't want to just give it while I was in my car coming out, just because I needed to think about some things about the movie. So I thought about it more on my way home, and I'm ready to give my official thoughts right now. The main thing I can say about this movie, just to start off with, is that it definitely did deliver on what those promised. The trailers mainly promised us to give us a more character-centric story, a more focused story that was more easy to follow, and definitely a whole lot of heart, something that we didn't get to see a ton of in the previous films. And the movie definitely does deliver on that stuff. You get a very good relationship, or a sort of focusing point in this movie being Bee and Charlie, and that does work very well. Both of them are sort of scarred characters. Bee, the way they set up his character early on, is really cool. I really enjoyed that. And just the way you see him early on in this film was like, whoa, really feel for the guy. And the stuff they do with Charlie was sort of solid character building stuff. And you put the two of them together and they make a really good team in this movie, a girl and his robot, and her robot. And I really enjoyed their sort of friendship, their relationship, and all the stuff that they went through in the movie. Their scenes together worked really well and was even better than the stuff we saw between Sam and Bee in the first Transformers movie. And when this film shines, it definitely does shine. The main thing that I would say differentiates itself in tone from the previous films is that it's definitely going for a more cute tone, a more cute approach. Mainly because this is mainly trying to appeal more to kids. So they're doing a whole lot of cutest stuff with Bumblebee, him acting kind of goofy, him being funny, his relationship with the girl, him interacting with kids, all that stuff. And it does work really well with the stuff they do with this character. I think this is a perfect kids film for what it has to offer, just in its tone, its vibes, and just the sort of characters that it focuses on. Really good stuff from a kid's perspective. For me, the stuff that I enjoyed the most, for one, the thing that stood out to me were those Cybertron scenes. Those Cybertron scenes were absolutely fantastic, man. The visuals, the action, the dynamics, all of it was working just so well, man. Lots of cool stuff for people that love G1 just the way that it was done, it just blew me away. You don't get to see a ton of it in the movie, but it still worked just so well, and it just made me think, God damn, now that's the prequel I want to see. Just a whole CGI Cybertron film, Transformers only, because that stuff was just absolutely amazing, and I just wanted to see more of it. And in terms of the action, Travis Knight, to me, he's no Michael Bay when it comes to action. I'm one of the few people that do enjoy Michael Bay's action. But Travis Knight, the robot fights that you do get to see in this film, as well as the Cybertron action, did work pretty well and did give you those sort of good moments, some good fights here and there. Especially the fight between Bumblebee and Blitzwing. That was fucking epic. I love that stuff. But all the other action scenes that you see in the film were solid. For people that love the action in the Transformers films, you do get some of that in this. So in terms of the stuff that the movie really promised to deliver on, really did, I think. The heart, the emotion, characters, the story, and just stuff here and there thrown in like the G1 Cybertron bits and that stuff did work really well and made this a very pleasant movie-going experience. But the thing is, do I feel this is going to be the Transformers film that is sort of like the real game changer in terms of like really changing the franchise around? It sort of depends on what you sort of mean by that. Because the reason why it's sort of tough to judge is that this is more of a kid-centric film, kids-aimed. So it's tough to see how this is going to really reach or connect to people beyond kids, even though there's a whole lot of stuff for people that did enjoy Transformers in like the 80s to enjoy, with the sort of tone and designs that they're going for. But what I will say to get to the point is that I didn't think this was a great movie. I'm not going to lie. I would say this was definitely a good movie, but maybe more sort of ranging in that good to solid range with what it had to offer. I think the thing that just sort of bothered me most throughout the movie was that there were just so many scenes of dialogue where it was trying to be funny and it just was not. Where the humor, the stuff, the jokes they were throwing at you, were just falling way flat, man. It was mainly the stuff involving Charlie's parents. A lot of their dialogue, the stuff that you see early on, and their bits throughout the movie, even the end, just was not working at all. And there was really just a whole lot of uncomfortable laughter filling the air when those jokes were popping up, just because it was like, this really is just not all that funny, and I just wish these jokes would just stop. And I won't blame the actors for that, just because I think they were just given kind of shitty jokes to tell, or maybe not even jokes, just humor that just wasn't working all that well. Because the cast did, for the most part, do a really good job. Haley Steinfeld as Charlie, I thought she did a really good job. Her dynamics with B and just the way she was in this film were really good, so she did a good job. And everyone else, for the most part, did okay to solid. John Cena was the other main star in this film. He was pretty decent. I thought he was all right in this movie. Everyone else though was just sort of there, but it's not like it did anything to really sort of fuck things up. Besides the fact that, like I said, their dialogue, not their fault, but just a lot of the jokes in this movie were just not working all that well. And this was director Travis Knight's first live action directorial debut. And like I said, he did a pretty good job for the most part with things he brought to the table in this movie. But there's just a whole lot of times where I feel like it's directed too much and sort of, it's looking like too much of a direct to TV movie, if you know what I'm talking about. Just sort of that look. It didn't have that sort of a real sort of cinematic look at times. There were times where it was working pretty well, but there were other moments, especially parts in like this weird sort of like government lab, where it did look very sort of direct to TV-ish, and I was like, I sort of want this to feel sort of like a cinematic epic, and too much of this is sort of like not really delivering on that, you know. So sort of a lot of it just didn't have the look that I wanted it to have. Even though for the most part the visuals were still good, they were working on a sort of a more limited budget compared to the previous films. But they put their money to good use, because I thought the sort of robot element to this movie, even though there were fewer robots, I thought all of them were sort of more fully realized characters for the most part. Bumblebee, obviously, but our two main villains that we got in this film, Shatter and Dropkick, two sort of Decepticon scouts or lieutenants who were on the search for Bumblebee on Earth, sort of working under order, were really sort of effective villains. In terms of some of the stuff they do to the humans in this film, especially Dropkick, were like, whoa, these guys ain't fucking around here. But I really sort of enjoyed their designs, their personalities. They were two good villains right there. So all those elements, even though the flaws I talked about was sort of the way it looked at times and those jokes, the stuff that this movie wanted to deliver on, I thought it did do pretty well. Even though, like I said, all of it came together to make sort of a good movie, but not a great one in my opinion. So I was going back and forth on my score to give it either a 7 or a 6.5. But in the end, I'm still going to give it a 7 out of 10 just because I think it hits for the most part what it's trying to do. And from the perspective of being a kid's film, I think it works very well. So yeah, different from the other Transformers movies in terms of the demographic it's aiming for, but there is still a whole lot there that I did enjoy a lot about this movie. And it was sort of a good stepping stone for the Transformers franchise. And at the bare minimum, they at least made a Transformers film that not everyone will hate. You may not love this movie, but you're definitely not going to hate it. It's not a Transformers The Last Night fiasco. So that itself is a win right there. Without going into spoilers, what I will say is that this film works very well as a prequel to the previous films and also sort of a soft reboot if they want to go in that direction. Because as a prequel, there's a lot of cool tie-ins to the first film, meaning how they set up Bumblebee, his personality, his traits, and sort of story moments that build up to the previous films. That stuff is really cool. So I was like, ooh, so here we got sort of a solid prequel to the previous films. But in terms of being a soft reboot, there's enough sort of story differences or sort of things where it sort of veers off the path of where the previous films went to where it's like, well, this could work as a soft reboot. Especially one major thing that happened at the end. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, where there's one element that comes into play where it's like, well, this doesn't really exactly line up with how Transformers 1 went and sort of the impact of Transformers 1. If you know what I mean, I won't spoil things, but see the movie for yourself, and if you have, you know what I'm talking about. But that's it for this review. I definitely did enjoy Bumblebee. I recommend that you all see it if you want to have a good Transformers experience. So I hope you all enjoyed this review, and I will see y'all around with another video.